A distinctive imaginative eye has shot director Jean-Pierre Jeunet's films from France to the world. His breakthrough film, the dark comedy Delicatessen, is one of 3 titles nominated for BAFTAs. He won a Gold Mask for the original screenplay of Amélie and worked again with its star, Audrey Tautou, on a very long engagement. He's also resurrected the alien, and Micmacs is the latest film in his life in pictures. Can we begin, as we might in a Jean-Pierre Jeunet film, with the baby Jean-Pierre Jeunet, or at least the child? You began to make films really early. Was this to celebrate a happy childhood or to escape something about your domestic circumstances?
Yeah, I suppose we have something to escape everybody. And I was an only child during 11 years. I had a brother later. And I all the time I had a lot of imagination. I remember I started to make up, not a movie, but a kind of. I was 8. I built a small theater. I wrote a story. I destroyed the light of my parents to make the lighting. I built some production design, some the set, the costume. And in fact, I started to watch movies. I was 17, maybe 16. Of course, on TV, I saw old American movies, Sunday afternoon. But for me, it was pretty tacky. And my first revelation was Once Upon a Time in the West. I was 17. It was, I couldn't speak during 3 days. And my parents were very concerned. They said, what do you don't speak? Are you sick? And I said, you can't understand. No, true.
So did you know then that you wanted to be a director?
Somewhere, I think so. It was a kind of dream. I remember at school, at the lycée, it was a room to read, and I asked the guy to give me the books about cinema. And it was just 1 or 2 books with dust on the top, you know. He had to climb to take it. And it was magical because I had 2 or 3 pictures with cranes, cameras. It was completely magical. I remember this moment.
So you began to make short films while
Yes.
you were working as an engineer.
I was a worker. I worked in the telephone company because one day I was 19, 18. A friend of my parents came at home. He had a Super 8 camera. And I remember the moment I took the camera and I did. I can remember the vibration of the camera. And now I have the small shot, the first shot I have ever made. And I understood, if I work, I am going to earn money and I will buy a camera. And it will be very easy. And it was my, my philosophy. Just do it, Take a camera and do it. And when students or at school, some young guys ask me what I have to do to be a director, I ask them, do you want to be or do you want to make? That's the most important question. If you want to make, take a camera, especially now. You don't need a pellicule, film. You need just a video camera, computer, and you are going to make movies, and you will be happy, And it was the philosophy of all my life. I started with animation because it was easier with puppets like Tim Burton, but and little by little I made some short film with my partner Marc Caro, live action short film. And little by little the short film were seen by people from the video music. It was the beginning of the video music. They hired me to make a video music, and little by little commercials, and I met a producer. During this time we were writing feature with Marc Caro.
And when you first met Marc Caro in 1974, I think, did you share an aesthetic? Did you like the same films?
Of course, yes. It was in an animation film festival in Nancy. And immediately we wanted to, one day we will do something together,
So what were the kinds of films that you really admired then?
In fact, it was Stanley Kubrick, American movies especially. Now I am a big fan about French movies, but from the 40s. My favorite director is Marcel Carné with Jacques Prévert, the author, the poet. And I am not a big fan about French cinema, except this cinema. And I prefer Italian and American cinema.
So you made short films that won awards. How long did it take for Delicatessen to get going?
It was during the 80s. We were waiting 10 years. But during this time, I made commercials and video music. Not a lot, but it was enough to survive.
And did you have to wait so long because the subject was dark and nobody would understand?
It was too weird, too special. And in France, we have a culture of intimist situation, intimist stories with couple fighting in a kitchen, you know what I mean? And I think we opened a door at this time because luckily Delicatessen was sold everywhere in the world in 1 week in Cannes Film Festival.
Well, I think it's a good moment to see a little bit from Delicatessen now, from
yes.
1991. And it is, as you say, a weird mixture, post-apocalyptic, of horror and comedy. So there's a butcher's shop, and it's above in the butcher's shop and also below the butcher's shop.
Yes,
and the butcher's speciality, of course, is because meat is scarce after the apocalypse, he chops up and minces the lodgers. So enter the innocent Louison, a new lodger who's unaware of all of this, and he's working as a handyman, and he's called in to mend the bed springs on a bed that has previously seen quite a lot of action.
C'est ce que je pensais, c'est le deuxième ressort, à droite.
So Dominique Pinon, who we see there, who has appeared in all 6 of your features,
Yes.
what are his strengths as an actor, do you?
Because he surprised me every time. And he has an interesting face. For me, he's very beautiful, you know. Not easy to shoot. You have to find the right angle.
Because you lose the eyes.
Yeah, he's like a beautiful guy.
So when you and Marc Caro were working together, how did you decide who did what on the film?
We didn't decide, it was natural, you know. And Marc Caro was in charge of the artistic direction, the costume, the set, the look of the film, the makeup, the aspect of the look of the people. And I was in charge of the casting, the direction. I wrote the script, Marc Caro too, but maybe more me. And, but in fact, it's a kind of miracle if we made 2 films together, because we are not brothers, and usually couple of cinema are brothers, you know, and we are not lovers too. I say that because in San Francisco they ask us immediately, are you lovers? No, sorry. Oh, really, true story. And during the City of Lost Children, it became difficult to work together because Marc Caro pulled to the aesthetic aspect, and I tried to keep the narrative aspect, and it became difficult to work. So it was time to separate and to try different things.
But then after City of Lost Children came the call from Hollywood.
Yeah, and I tried to write Amélie at this time. And when they called me, I didn't want to make Alien. I was just curious to see a meeting at Fox Studio because I didn't speak English at all at this time. I do all the time the same joke, but it's so true. In fact, I understood the story when I received the DVD with subtitles later. And of course, I was so relaxed because I didn't want to make Alien. I said exactly what they wanted to hear. You know? I said, why do you want to hire me? You have so good director. You know? And they were very excited. And they hired me. It was a flash. When I took the airplane, it was just in 1 day, like this. You know, I left Paris in 1 day. And inside the airplane, I almost hijacked the airplane because I didn't want to go to LA. And luckily, I met Sigourney Weaver, and she was so nice and excited to work with me. I felt good, and at the end, I decided to modify everything to get this film like my own film. And it worked. I saw it yesterday or 2 days ago on French TV in French language. And I thought, oh, it's a good scene.
Okay, well, let us see a scene from it now. And as you say, Sigourney Weaver she's Ellen Ripley again, but this time she's been cloned, but it's all rather complicated. And they are all in terrible danger, of course, from the alien threat. And she's leading the crew at this stage through the ship out of danger.
To make a sequel, it's not interesting. To make the first film was interesting for Ridley Scott, of course. But the adventure for me was amazing, to make a big Hollywood movie. It was very tough. At the end, I think I had the freedom. When they asked me to make a director's cut for the DVD, I said, no, this is my cut. I am proud about the film. But for that, you have to convince a lot of people. You have to speak a lot. And in France, I have the complete freedom, like for a very cheap short film. If American directors could imagine how I am free, they ask friends to, to accept them. And that's the reason maybe I prefer to make film in France, even if the French language is a limit everywhere in the world, of course. But, somewhere I don't care, because I don't want to make movies just to have million and million admission. But it's good to have my film distributed everywhere in the world, even if it's a small audience.
But would you, if you had the opportunity to make another film in America, would you like to?
I would like, ideally, yes, I would like to make another film in America with American actors, but I would like to keep the freedom. Maybe it's possible to make a French production and to hire American actors. Why not? I am thinking about that.
And this obviously was the first film that you made without Marc Caro, although he has a credit for
yes, because
design supervisor.
Yeah, I called him and I said they offered me to make Alien, but I think in the first time he hates the sun. He walks on the shadow, on the shade. Sorry, and he doesn't drive. So LA for him, forget it. And I suppose he didn't believe I am going to make this film.
Because you were no longer working together, do you think that you were then able to make a different kind of film that was just purely your enthusiasm?
I couldn't make Amélie with Marc Caro because it's absolutely not his cup of tea. When he saw Amélie, he just said, oh, the clouds with animal shape, I can't do that anymore, because he had the same idea. He was very pissed off, and that's it,
That was his only observation about it.
Only, yeah.
So with Amélie, and obviously you'd had the idea before you made Alien Resurrection, but with Amélie, was there a sense that you wanted to make a French film that was different from French cinema of the time?
It was a kind of obsession, because it was a film of my life, because I wanted to put every details, every notes I took since a long time, a lot of things in terms of voiceover, in terms of jokes, it was a huge box packed of ideas. And I thought maybe I will have 1 million admission. It could have been okay just to get back the money. But I couldn't imagine a big success. It was just a small little film. And of course, at the end, it was a dream for every director in the planet, I suppose, because I wrote my own story, very personal, and it became a huge success. It's a complete dream.
And Amélie herself she was originally not going to be Audrey Tautou.
I wanted to hire Amélie Watson, and we made some tests here in London with Amélie in French, and I wrote another draft just for her. She was in London, and after a while she left London to go to Montmartre, and one day she called me, and for personal reason she left. She told me, I won't make your movie. I was completely depressed, and I had to make a casting, and I saw a poster in the street of Paris with Audrey Tautou in a small character, and I met her. She didn't see any movies from me, you know, and we made some tests, and after 10 seconds I knew I found my Amélie.
Well, let us see a little bit of Amélie now as she goes about her business in Paris.
Allô?
Je sais qui est la connue des photomatons, monsieur Quincampoix. C'est un fantôme. Nul ne peut le voir, monsieur Quincampoix. Il n'apparaît que sur la surface sensible de la pellicule photographique. Quand les jeunes filles se font faire le portrait, il se penche à leur oreille et fait « Ouh » en leur caressant tout doucement la nuque. C'est là qu'il se fait prendre, monsieur Quincampoix.
Vous êtes qui?
Page 51.
But looking at that excerpt, you must have used a crane. I mean, you used a crane more probably than any director has ever used.
what?
A crane, you know.
The crane, I love that. Yeah. It's a toy. In fact, I try to play with everything in the box. You know, Orson Welles was used to say a film it's like an electric train, and I love the metaphor. I love to say it's a meccano. And with the meccano, I try to use everything in the box to build the most beautiful toy, the most beautiful film. So the inside the box there is a costume, the production design, the crane movement, the music, the dialogue, everything. And I try to use everything. Because in France, especially in France, I can say that because I'm in England, you know, some directors say, I don't care about the lighting, I don't care about the production design, I love only dialogues or actors. So you can do some theater play because cinema is everything. You know.
But this is the legacy of the Nouvelle Vague, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
And you reject that?
No, it's not my cup of tea, definitely. No, I don't like realism. I prefer documentary. I am a big fan about National Geographic, and I love documentary. But to shoot the life, you know, like the real life, it's not interesting. I prefer directors with a special look, like Tim Burton or Terry Gilliam or Kusturica, with a style. You can recognize immediately the style of a long time ago Fellini or Kurosawa or whatever. So many David Lynch, so many Kubrick, so many good directors, you know. And I prefer this kind of look, special.
So did the French like the vision of France that you gave them in Amélie?
For Amélie, yes. It was a kind of tsunami of positivism, like when we won the soccer World Cup, you know. And I won every award, audience, even critics, you know. And after 10 years now, it's more fashionable to say, oh, Amélie, oh, I didn't like Amélie. Because if you say, I loved Amélie, it's tacky now, because everybody loves Amélie, you know. And in France, we are used to say, we love to hate what we loved, you know. Yeah. It's very French.
So were you already planning, when you were making Amélie, that a very long engagement? Did you have that already in mind?
It's because I met Audrey, I felt like to reread this book and to make this film. And it was very expensive, of course. Before Amélie, I couldn't get the rights. And because of the success of Amélie, I could speak with Warner to make this film, especially in France. And Warner was very courageous to produce this film in French language because it was 36 million euros. It was a huge budget.
Let us see a little bit from it now. And this is at the beginning of this very long betrothal when Mathilde is seeing her fiancé off to war.
Si j'arrive au virage avant la voiture, Manek reviendra vivant. Si j'arrive au virage. Si j'arrive au virage avant la voiture, Manek reviendra vivant. Si j'arrive au virage.
Bonjour.
There are relatively few French films about the First World War, I think.
Not a
apart from
lot,
yours.
not
No,
a
no.
lot, no. I don't know why, and in terms of literature now, we have a lot of books, but at this time, I read maybe 5, 6 books about the First World War. And now it's a lot of books with picture, maybe because we lost the last guy, the last old man, you know. Maybe it's in this story now.
Now, you had Jodie Foster in the film in a francophone role.
Yeah, she speaks French. She's completely fluent, no accent. You can maybe feel, you can imagine she's from Switzerland, maybe a very, very discreet accent. She's perfect. For example, when she reads a letter, it's a long letter, and we made something very quickly on the stage to have something at the editing room. And she read one time, and it's on the film. It was perfect. One take.
It was very low-key because it was almost a surprise to find her in the film. When I saw it the first time, I thought, oh, she looks like Jodie. It is Jodie Foster.
I made a lot of jokes with the journalist. I said, no, it's a CGI, Jodie Foster. and a lot of believed me, you know, don't do this kind of joke, never.
And you received the Légion d'honneur in 2006, not long after that.
Yes, and yes. I won 2 BAFTAs for Amélie, I forgot to tell you. One for the best script, and I received the congratulation from Robert Altman, I was very proud. And the other one was for the production design. I won a lot of things for the production design. And we were in competition with Lord of the Rings. And it was so funny because at the BAFTA ceremony, we saw a clip with huge set for Lord of the Rings. And for Amélie, they chose the small balls breaking the tile. You know, look. And we won.
And so Micmacs came and said, now we have to start. First of all, what does Micmacs mean?
What does Micmac means? Shenanigan. And tire-larigot in French, it's a very old French expression. It means a lot, a profusion.
And in a sense, that title has a lot of what your films often have, which is a bit of nostalgia and a bit of surprise and a bit of chaos.
I put everything I loved in this film because I was so excited to shoot very quickly. No limit. I put even the poster of the film inside the film. It's completely silly and stupid. I didn't care. It was a joke. I thought it was funny, and that's it.
So here is Basile, and he has a physical problem, which
Oh,
is
yes.
that he has a bullet in
Yeah.
his skull
Yeah.
somewhere. Obviously, he wants to take revenge not only on the person who put the bullet in his skull, but also arms manufacturers who effectively killed his father when his father was working
Yeah,
in
it's a
action.
story of revenge. And to accomplish the revenge, Basile needs some help from a band of strange people. And every people has a specificity. One of them is good to steal, one of them is very strong, etc., etc. And it's a kind of metaphor of the cinema, because for me, the same thing. With my imagination, I need to make a film, but I need some people with specificities, the DP, the production designer. It's a kind of metaphor of the cinema.
And you could not have chosen a better way to introduce the next clip, because we, like Basil,
No.
are about to meet those 7 people.
Maintenant que tu fais partie de la famille, va donc me chercher un petit pot de crème fraîche au frigo. Plus bas, mon gars!
Tu veux ma photo?
Elle est un peu soupe au lait, mais c'est toujours la première à se plier en quatre pour les autres, hein?
Vous êtes contorsionniste?
Non, je suis le bac à légumes.
C'est pour ainsi dire de naissance. À 5 ans, quand son père la battait, il se cachait déjà dans le garde-manger.
Et lui, le pauvre vieux, il est resté tellement d'années au placard sans lasser à ses chaussures qu'il sait même plus les nouer.
We saw the Julie Ferrier folded up in the fridge because you did, obviously she didn't do all the contortions herself, but you did actually have a real contortionist. to
Yes,
do. I
yes,
thought
yes.
it was all CGI.
No, yes, it's a mix, of course. Julie Ferrier is very flexible, and because she was a good dancer, but not enough to do that. And we hired a woman from Russia. She does some erotic show in Germany, and it's interesting. My Japanese DP was very moved, you know. Interesting. And we, for some shots, she is alone on the stage. You can recognize her. And some shots, we put the face of Julie Ferrier, in a mix in digital. Everything is possible now.
And Danny Boone, who we saw there, is of course a huge star in France, although we didn't see so much of him over here in English cinema.
Yeah,
So-
and you know, it was on my mind from the beginning, and I wanted Jamel Debbouze, and he left exactly like Emily Watson. And it was the opportunity to work with Danny Boone, and I love this guy. I love this guy. And I hired him just before the huge success of Bienvenue chez les Ch'tis, 21 million admission. Can you believe it?
It's the biggest selling French film ever.
Yes,
isn't
it's
it?
huge. In France.
In France.
In the world, Amélie, still the biggest success. I insist.
I wonder with Micmacs, which is a film about people who are doing recycling, you know, they're taking old things, and whether there's a little element sometimes of that in your films. Because
yes.
even in Micmacs, you take, we see the characters from Delicatessen
Oh, yeah,
grown
yeah, yeah.
older, you know, we see things from previous films too.
The joke about Delicatessen, I tell the story because we don't know. At one moment, Basile, Danny Boone, is on the roof of the building and he listens by the chimney with a mic. He listens what happens below. And there is a scene between two people, and there is a scene of Delicatessen with Dominique Pinon playing the soul. Well, so it's a private joke. But in fact, I wanted to make a scene with Amélie. Amélie with 2 kids, 2 babies, and Matthew Kassovitz on the couch with the feet, with a beer, watching TV, you know. And it would have been more funny, but of course, Audrey said, no, I can't do that. I am shooting right now Coco Chanel, I can't. And she refused. But it's okay with Delicatessen, if you know, it's okay.
So recycling is good in film terms.
Yeah, sometimes, yes, we can say that.
Well, all I can say is Jean-Pierre Jeunet, thank you very much for your life.
Thank you to you. so many.